Hello, good afternoon. My name is Bayo Awoleri, your host today on The Influencer. Also, I'm the senior pastor of Center of Life Church. Such a great honor for me to be your host even today. Good afternoon if you're in Canada, or good evening if you're in Nigeria, maybe good morning, whatever the case. I don't know where you are, any part of the world right now, but such a delight to welcome you to this, wonderful section we are going to have on the influencers. Just for you to know, the influencers, is a platform where we have opportunity to interact with, great minds, believers that are making positive impact in the society. I mean, kingdom influencers, people that through their experiences, their training, they are honoring and glorifying Jesus with their expertise. And through that, rebuilding and reshaping culture. And I'm so delighted to have two people with me today that will be inspiring us into actions, guiding us to be able to know what to do to be successful in life. But specifically today, we're actually focusing on rebuilding Nigeria, and especially because of the crisis, the prevalent issue happening in Nigeria right now that is troublesome, that is overwhelming. And I'm trusting the Lord that the two of my guests today will be able to help us navigate through this conversation. So I just want to welcome you, my dear sister
Thank you.
Oluneye. Thank you for being part of this, and also,
Thank
my
you.
dear brother, Mr. Stanley. These are wonderful people,
Thank you.
believers, in the Lord, and also people doing an amazing work, in our society, and they are both also part of our Canadian community. And so we really
Thank you.
are so blessed to have you here today. Why? Because we are not just going to be talking about rebuilding in Nigeria because of the present circumstances and situations. We want to lend our voice. Many people are doing a lot of wonderful things, and we want to ensure that also our voice, are heard in this situation so that we can provide some guidelines, especially from believers' perspective and also from corporate perspective, and different levels, trusting God that there's going to be a great outcome. And so, for all of you joining us at home, I just want you to know that this is also a ministry of Center of Life Church, and we believe church must play a part in rebuilding community, in rebuilding society. Why? Because we are the salt of the earth, and we are, agent of change. And I'm trusting the Lord that through your ingenuities and experience, we'll be able to have some guidance today. So let's get ready. And please share this, host a word party, your platform. Why? Because I believe quite a lot of people need to hear what we're about to say. Specifically today on the influencer, we are focusing on this wonderful, blessed country, Nigeria. The most populous country in Africa, and a country that have endowed in both natural and human resources. But unfortunately, we have not seen great dividends and fruit, as we should have seen it. But we are trusting God, for a change. And this is the time, for us to have that experience. But let me quickly just introduce you even to our speakers today, people that I love and I respect. Our sister, Mrs. Luneye Oluwole. She is a multi-sector interventionist for entrepreneurship development with special focus in agribusiness, tourism, media, creative art, and aviation, and a social entrepreneur. Uh, Also, she's an avid thinker and creative, thinker. She's very creative. She serves as an international business broker. I'm just going to do my best to do this. There's such a lot to say here. And she's a strategist, enabler of vision, an incubator of business ideas. She's a motivational speaker, mentor, global youth ambassador, and a multidisciplinary consultant with industry, sector, and market experience that spans over 2 decades. She also holds a Bachelor of Science degree in Geography from University of Ife, the Great Ife we call it, and as well also a Master's degree in Communication and Language Art from the University of Ibadan. In recognition of her experience, she serves in various capacities on the boards of diverse organizations across a broad spectrum of interests. She's also the founder and convener of Land of My Birth Development Initiative. She's also chairman and executive director, African Hub International, My Heritage Books, and Adopt a Child Today Foundation. Not only that, she's a great author. She has, written some books, about 3 books. Latest literary offering served with art and might, and Dreams of a Patriot, and My Heritage, History of Ogun State. And she has served at different capacity, even in that blessed country, Nigeria. So she understands, some of the issues we are dealing with. I just want to, that is just a short, introduction. Many things to say about her. But thank you, ma, for being part of this conversation. We really, really appreciate it. And we know that we have a lot to learn today, and a lot for our viewers also to gain, even from your life of experience and impact. Also with me today, my dear brother that I've known for many years, great influencer, Brother Stanley Odra is the Chief Operating Officer of Cyberspace Limited, a leading ICT solution provider in Nigeria. He also, degree in electrical and electronic engineering, specializing in communication engineering technology from Futo, Awoleri, and MBA from ESUT Business School in Enugu. He has over 28 years post-graduation experience practicing information and communication technology. Prior to his appointment as the Chief Operating Officer of Cyberspace Limited, he was an Assistant General Manager in the Information Technology Group of Zenith Bank, Nigeria. He provides strategic leadership in business, technology, and operations in Cyberspace Limited. He is also an alumnus of said Business School of University of Oxford, and also Business School of University of Navarra in Barcelona, and Lagos Business School of Pan-African University, Lagos, Nigeria. And he's a man of many parts that have bettered quite a lot of initiative in our nation, Nigeria. Like I've said, we are also blessed to have that as part of our Canadian community. And that's why we're having this broadcast in Canada. And we want to also look at that diaspora effect. Hallelujah. And when you hear me say hallelujah, Jesus, that is my pastoral stuff coming out. So please, Brother Stanley, we are welcome, and such a delight to have you.
It's a great honor to have me on this platform.
Thank you so much, sir. And many people be wondering, Pastor, you are the host of this. Yes, I'm a pastor, I'm a preacher, but the church must be many things to many people. And I personally believe that our ministry must extend beyond the 4 walls of the church. Mm-hmm. And this, platform, the influencer, is one of one of many of initiatives that we also have rolled out in the church to be able to be a blessing. Let's just get into the heart of the matter, even today. Like I've said, on the influencer, we are focusing on Nigeria, especially because of the prevalent issues, the crisis in that country right now. And we are product of that country in some ways. And we want to, see how can we go forward. There are many heartbreak. There are many people crying right now. There are many situations, and we all understand about, the brutalities that people are speaking against, the police brutalities, the protests, and also a lot of, unfavorable things that have happened afterwards. So it's like a country in chaos, in crisis. I just want us to talk about this today before we even begin to talk about solutions or begin to talk about, what we in diaspora, all of us, not just in Canada, and many people are listening to us all over the world, part that we need to take to be able to move this country to its glorious, spot. What can we say? Talk to me, Mr. Olunaye, from your perspective. What are the issues? What are the challenges? What are the problems, that we need to identify when we're talking about Nigeria?
Thank you, Pastor Bayo. I'll prefer Olu.
Olu, okay, that's
Olu.
good.
That makes me more comfortable.
Awesome, yeah.
Okay, so you mentioned what are the problems, and in being able to look at the problems. I am a historian. I like going back to, the beginning. What we're seeing in Nigeria is an after effect of leadership gone back over 6 decades. So you are asking for an autopsy of 6 decades, okay? Because we didn't just get to where we are now. It had happened, or it has been happening in the last 6 decades. So The first thing that I want to say is the issue of leadership. Leadership has always been a major problem in Nigeria. So if I were to do an autopsy of the 6 decades, I want to look at the kind of leaders that Nigeria has produced in the last 6 decades and the kind of leaders that we have and what has gone wrong. And going back, I want to backtrack to 1960, which is 6 decades ago, 60 years. And we look at the kind of leaders that were representing the people. What were their values? What were their educational background? What were their vision? And when you talk about that, you would look at the likes of Obafemi Awolowo, you would look at the likes of Nnamdi Azikiwe, you would look at the likes of Tafawa Balewa. So I would want to take Obafemi Awolowo, for instance. These are men that rose through the ranks. They tutored themselves. He was a journalist. He went to study law. He had a bachelor's of commerce. He went to England. He came back. He served as the first premier of Western Nigeria. I don't want to go too much into that. And then you have Nnamdi Azikiwe. He also was influenced by great people like Marcus Garvey. He was also influenced by people like James Aggrey, who was a proponent of education for Africans. And he was also a journalist. And he came, he went to the US, he studied in the US, he studied journalism, he studied, diverse kinds of, he had master's degrees and had influence with people, in the US and came back to Nigeria. And he started, the publications, he started writing into journalism, and also Tafawa Balewa. I don't know if you have heard Tafawa Balewa speak. He was one of the people that the leaders that were taught by the British, during the British colonial eras. Katsina College. He knew how to speak good English. He studied education. He went to England. He came back, and why am I doing this? Is to give us an idea of the kind of leaders we started with, and what their focus were. And how they moved. They were the ones that agitated for independence for Nigeria. It was for the people. They agitated for freedom, independence from the colonial masters, from the British rule. Okay, so when we look at leadership and we take it from there, and we look at what happened, that it was truncated in the mid 60s, 1966, and then the soldiers came in. Okay, now when we want to talk about Nigeria, a lot of people are either ignorant of the history, or they just want to dump the history and just pick it from what is happening now. But as Nigerians, we need to go back to the drawing board. Who are the kind of leaders we are picking? What are their values? What kind of background do they come from? What kind of leaders did we have in Nigeria? Where did we take that detour? And I would want to juxtapose this with Nehemiah. When you mentioned the diaspora, when Jerusalem was in ruins, the walls had broken down, everything had gone totally crazy, and it was a shadow of what it was. And it took the efforts. Nehemiah represents the diaspora. He looked at what was happening and said, this cannot continue to go on. We need to do something. So when you ask what we can do as the diaspora, I'm going to maybe later on talk more about what we can do. But the first things first, as Nigerians, is the fact that we need to go back to the drawing board, to assess ourselves, ask ourselves the true, question: what kind of leaders have we produced in Nigeria? Do we have leaders that are fit to rule a population of over 200 million people? And if that be the case, do they have the experience? Do they have the education? Do they have the influence? Do they have the network? Do they have all these things that the leaders that built Nigeria, upon which we're celebrating 60 years of this independence, that great men like Nnamdi Azikiwe, Tafawa Balewa, Obafemi Awolowo, they fought for. Do we have those kind of leaders? And what are the leaders that we have right now as president, as governors, as senators, as House of Representatives, as local government chairmen? We need to go back to understand where we missed it. Because Nehemiah brought the people's consciousness to where the Israelites missed it. So until we do an autopsy of where we missed it, we're just going to be going around in circles.
Absolutely. I mean, thank you so much, Olu, for sharing, and thank you for letting me know that. At times, some people like their name to be called in full, some people like it just to abbreviate it, so thank you for letting me know that. But honestly, thank you for that introduction and for giving us that perspective. And so, I mean, like you rightly said, how can we provide solution if you do not even know the problem? And so that's why we are trying to first, do this, diagnosis to be able to know where did things went wrong. And Lucas said, we have great, wonderful leaders, that we started with, but something happened along the line. And so we want to hear more about that because obviously, like you rightly mentioned, one of the major problems is leadership problem. And we need to talk more about that. I just want to ask you, Mr. Stanley, share with us more. What do you consider to be part of the problems we are facing right now as a country?
Thank you. First of all, I want to appreciate Pastor Bayo and the family of Center of Life for the opportunity to be part of this platform. Yeah. By the way, this is a wonderful thing you are doing.
Thank you, sir.
The influencers is a wonderful platform.
Thank you, sir.
The problem of Nigeria is numerous. It's numerous, but like Sister Olu said, she pointed out one of the cardinal problems, which is leadership. It's obviously clear that we have leadership challenge in Nigeria. Kudos to our founding fathers, like she narrated, Dr. Azikiwe, Tafawa Balewa, Chief Obafemi Awolowo. Yeah. I might go a bit off the track. With due respect to these founding fathers, they did quite well. But I strongly believe that in as much as they were visionary, they were not visionary enough to see this present day. They did the much they could do. I give it to them. They put the little structure they could put on ground. I believe that in addition to leadership, which is also interwoven with structure, there is a fundamental issue with the structure of the Nigerian system. I don't want to address it from the political angle because the word restructuring has been abused and it means different things to different people. But I'm looking at it from all the various parts of Nigeria and how they fit in. There is a need for rebuilding. There is a need to go back and look at exactly where we missed it. Let me look at some of the problems now. The political structure of Nigeria. How good is it? Is it best fitted for our environment? According to late Nelson Mandela, he said that Africa will not earn their respect until Nigeria earns the respect first. So everyone is looking up to Nigeria to make the difference. So the political structure of Nigeria is challenged. That goes down to the leadership structure, goes down to the healthcare structure, the education structure, the judiciary structure. So there is a fundamental structural issue. And even the values system. Like I was saying earlier, that you, the pastors, need to help us because you are great influencers. The family value system has been eroded. a situation where people begin to celebrate those that embezzle national treasury because they get away with it and it becomes a normal way of life. And families don't see anything wrong in such traits, and rather they encourage the kids to follow suit. So there is a system decay, call it structural decay. And it's good that what happened in Nigeria in the past 2 weeks happened, because it's bringing to fore that the foundation we have cannot carry us. So we need to come to the table and talk. You know, they've been trying to pretend that there's no need to talk, but we must talk. And Nigerians have got the best set of bright minds all over. From my statistics, I got to know that 61% of the Nigerians in US have minimum of bachelor's degree. And that's where the diaspora community comes in. We need your input to help us. We need your support to help us. All the skill sets you built, all the exposure, all the global best practices, we need to see how we can fuse it into our peculiar and our unique environment. And by the way, I believe in diversity. That is a big strength for Nigeria. You know, and people think it is not a strength, it's a big plus. All the ethnic group in Nigeria coming together with their unique abilities, Nigeria will be much more than just one ethnic group controlling Nigeria.
Amazing, amazing. I mean, thank you, both of you for helping us laying a great foundation. I believe you, our viewers, you are in for a great ride. I can guarantee you that these two great influencers that we have, they are going to guide us. And this is just a beginning. We are going to have many parts to this conversation. There is no way within 90 minutes we can address all the nitty-gritty of Nigeria issues. And we will not attempt to do that. We just want to, stir up our consciousness towards the right direction and just see how God will help us. But the influencer is not just about talking about Nigeria, but we are just focusing on this aspect, trusting God to have a very good outcome. But can we talk more? When we talk about this problem, and thank you for that two dimensions that you just shared. Is there any other thing that comes to mind? We talk about leadership issue. You talk about, the structure, that we need to really, think about. Right? Think about also values that has gone wrong and many other things that we need to restructure and to put in place. But is there any other thing? Because I know that you want to share more. Before I said, okay, let me listen to him as well. But is there another thing? Now we're talking about what are the issues. And I know that some people, they are taking their notes, and we are going to walk us backwards to now talk of, okay, what are the solutions? Because we are not just talking one dimension where we identify the cause, and we cannot talk about where do we go from here. And you already, and that's where we are going, ultimately, talk about the Nehemiah, structure. People in exile, quote and unquote, those of us in the diaspora, that by whatever reason that the Lord led us forth, or situation, brought us out, but now God has, to some degree, given us a lot of, peace, a lot of prosperity. How can we, because of the love of the country, play our part? Not just, forget about all the woes and all the issues that people are going through and just enjoy in our big estate. Yeah. But what can we do? And I know a lot of people are doing great things right now. Advocacy, writing, and using social media. But we need to be more strategic and do things better. So we'll talk more about that. But talk to me more. Other things that you have in mind about our issues.
I would say mindset. Now, I would build mindset on education. When I say education is one of the tools to either liberate a people or lack of it to keep them, in bondage. Now, we know what Nelson Mandela has talked about, education, even James Agri talking about if you educate a man, you educate an individual. But if you educate a woman, you're educating a nation. So you can imagine if you educate several women, and by reason of that, you're educating an entire nation. Now, bringing us back to the Founding Fathers, their priority was focused on education, because the British colonials, the British masters, they brought education, okay? And through education, for instance, Obafemi Awolowo introduced, the free education in Western Nigeria. And the educational system in Nigeria was built on that platform, which was what we had in the 70s in the primary school. The educational system was so robust that you will learn about civics. Now, civics is a subject that talks to you about your responsibility as a citizen, what you should do, what values you should emulate, how to be responsible, and all of that. And that is the foundation of the human development, where you are introduced to the things that, builds a society, okay? Now, we look at the fabric of education over the years, and we look at what the government in times past, the leaders, what portion of the budget has been allocated to education. How has education been, affordable to people? And now we look at the decay in the educational system. We're looking at a people that have, that have come out of a system where the education has been, limited, the education has been truncated, they don't have access, the kind of education that they have. So what kind of individuals are we going to produce is what we're seeing right now. So education was very fundamental to our founding fathers, because with education, they were able to, to do all the things that they did. With education, they were able to agitate for independence, because they were in contact with educated people both in the US, in the UK. They went there, they came back, and they put together, okay, a platform. So, but what we saw in the years, in the 60s, 66, there was the coup, the counter coup. There was the coup first, then the counter coup, and then the military came in. So we see a system break down from that moment. In 2010, I wrote a book called Dreams of a Patriot. It was an autopsy of 50 years of leadership in Nigeria. Dreams of a Patriot. I left, the last chapter was when Goodluck Jonathan was coming in, and the last chapter of that book was, is this the leader that Nigeria has been waiting for? Now, 10 years after, things have gone from bad to worse. So, and we're seeing a rapid, spiral from where we left off from in the 60s. So if I'm going to do, like, say, a review of that book, or, to republish that book, it's going to be gory stories, because I left off at a high note to say, Jonathan Goodluck, are you the man that is going to save Nigeria? 10 years on, we're having an unrest where soldiers have shot citizens. I never imagined in my days that we would witness that kind of a thing. But I want to say that education, when you deprive people, when you deprive your citizens, when you look at the advanced countries where we are, in Canada, in the US, in the UK, education is fundamental. Sustainable development goals. Access to education is number one. Access to health is number two. Transportation. These are things that, governments and developed societies understand, are the founding pillars of building a society, a country. And if we have missed it, in that area, in education, we're just going to be patching things. So unless we go back to assessing what is the proportion of the budget, what kind of a leader would apportion, a 10%, maybe, to education or to health. That is to tell you their mindset.
The value system.
The value system. So when you make people, when you make your citizens, you know, not having access to education, to health, you're building, you know, a set of another kind of people who are going to revolt, because education frees you. It makes you to explore, to know. So these leaders understand what they are doing. It's a mindset thing. So we're talking about values. Values have gone they've gone to the winds. They've gone out because kids go to school now. They don't understand civics.
Let me interject because I think this is a very good opportunity to talk, because I love what you're saying in terms of, because this is also part of even the solution.
Yeah.
If you educate your citizen, you empower them. At the same time, another thing you are doing is that they are now more aware of their rights.
That's true.
And to be able to, and they can now challenge you. Now, do you think, and I think both of you can talk about this, even so-called educated people, remember, like you said, you know, things have changed. When we started to talk about people that are so educated, exposed, and they use it for a good cause. Do you think some people that are now even so educated, they have their PhDs, they have all the exposure, they schooled abroad. Now, some of them even become perpetrators. Yeah? That also even made things worse. Why? Because they don't have the love of the country. Like some people really genuinely have used that to advance the country. Some, am I right in this or wrong? Why some people that were the so-called educated ones that should, you know, create a platform to move us forward. I'm not talking about everybody, but do you think there are some people, they have used their exposure, their ability to know things, to even take advantage of the country, and they don't even care? Is that a true scenario as well?
Yeah, you're correct. A good number of class, they take advantage of education and oppress their followers. They deliberately put mechanisms in place to ensure that their followers don't get to be educated. I even heard someone talking about blocking internet from Nigeria. That is absurd. They don't want them to get informed. I believe that our political structure needs to enact a law that it is compulsory for every child to go through primary and secondary. Yes, universal basic education talks about that, but it should be a punishable offense for a child not to be educated to secondary school level. And so it becomes compulsory and mandatory with consequences. By so doing, we will have a good number of our population educated. And with that, they are able to stand up. But if you look at the policy document we have, there is no consequence for a child not going to school. Yes, we've been encouraged that there should be free education. Sometimes it's a lip service. So there are a group of political class that makes sure that these people don't get educated. And once you are not informed, you are already a deformed person.
I mean, that underscore what you are trying to say.
You're very correct, Stanley, because I like, you know, what you just said, the political class, having that agenda to keep education, you know, from the people. A case in point, let me bring you to my very first book, which, you know, My Heritage, The History of Ogun State. I remember in 2007 or 2008, I was part of the political class in my local government as a supervisory councillor. So, and I had written this set of books, 3 volumes, on my state, because, you know, my kids they didn't know where they were from. So I had to embark, honestly, I had to embark on that expedition to write the book. It took me 3 years, you know, without the support of any government or anything. It was, you know, all my efforts. Now, when the book was published and all of that, and I realized that one of the gubernatorial candidates, you know, in my state, you know, the usual, they want to share rice, vegetable oil, and all of that. So I approached him and I said, I went through one of my political leaders in my senatorial district, and we went to meet him, and I shared my vision with him to say, this is a set of 3 books that talks about the history of Ogun State. It talks about when the state was created, all the governors, name it, people, places, the heritage, the culture, the Ogun State anthem, the Nigerian anthem, everything. It was endorsed by the sitting governor at that time. And this particular gubernatorial candidate was totally lost. He was confused. He didn't understand why he should distribute, because they were distributing exercise books. I said, an exercise book is a blank canvas. What do you want to write? You educate the child. You let them know where they're from. It builds confidence in them. It makes them to be aware, to understand their origin, to understand their heritage, to understand their culture, to understand their diversity, their difference, to be able to begin to know where they fit in the whole jigsaw puzzle called Nigeria. And he looked at me after my brilliant, and he just said, "Are you a teacher?" And I said, "No."
Yeah.
He said, "Okay, we'll get in touch with you." And it was a dead on arrival.
Yeah.
Now, the reason I want to imagine, we have 20 local governments in my state, okay? And that's 770, I think 770 or 236 wards. You can imagine the number of kids that would have been enlightened.
Yeah.
Now, these kids in 2008, these books were fit for junior secondary school, junior secondary 1 to 3. So let's say the average age of a child then, 12 years old. So now, 12 years, that was 2008. 8 years after that, you have a 12-year-old who has become a 20-year-old who knows nothing about his or her state, who knows nothing about the history of Nigeria, who knows nothing about governance, about the governors that have been in just that state. And these are adults now in their 20s. So they're deformed. So the political class is responsible for either making education accessible or making education inaccessible.
Yes.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, thank you for that scenario. That will just underscore, what we have been talking about. One of the major problems of Nigeria is bad leadership that lead to bad governance, and then that also, cause loss of value system in the country. And you can imagine, if that book has been endorsed, because many people, if it is not something that's going to personally benefit them,
Yes.
then they don't care for the people. And then we'll get back to that. And I'm happy that we are having this conversation. And my desire as a pastor, and one of the reasons why we are educating people, because this is part of education, is for people to realize that everything rise and fall on leadership. We need good leadership.
Yes.
We need servant leaders, not self-serving leaders. We need people and those are the leaders that God, I believe, gave us at the inception of the development of Nigeria. If you look at their asset, it's not compared to what you see many people right now, have. You get what I'm saying? They are people that are modest. They are people that they want to do much for the country. But now we have leaders that they are only thinking about themselves. Nothing about anyone, nothing about the citizen. And we get back to that. But, I just want us to, do you want to say something? I think I saw that you wanted to mention something while she was talking. Yeah.
Yes.
Because after this, I want us to say something a little bit about, the NSAS that just happened. I want us to be able to, give a word, and also I'm going to just trust God. We have been praying as a church. We just had a time of prayer and intercession. praying for people, healing and comfort, and also praying for discretion and wisdom for leaders, and also to just that righteous, movement. We come out of this to bring a positive, future to our country. But please go ahead and share what you want to say.
I am glad that even when they try to suppress people from getting formal education, the social media has come to stay. People will definitely find out the truth. Yes, I know that sometimes you don't get the full information in social media, but at least that will drive in you the curiosity to know more. And I traveled to a particular region of the country, and I asked my colleague, why are these kids not in school? He asked me, why should they be in school? That they have been ordained not to be in school, and they've been ordained by the Creator to look unto the one who is in Abuja to bring money, quote and unquote, the loot, and then give to them.
Wow.
And that is their purpose in life.
Wow. Wow.
It was a business trip, and it took me time to comprehend that reasoning, because it is not in sync with the way someone should reason in 21st century. And so there has to be...
And that was a leader in that region.
Yeah.
And so-called, because an influencer could be positive or negative.
Or negative, yes.
Yeah. So is the one saying that,
Yeah.
and you're talking about mindset, paradigm.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I just felt that there has to be a radical approach to this education thing that Olu is talking about.
Wow. Wow.
It is a crime against humanity not to educate a kid.
Wow. Wow.
It's a crime against humanity. Let them challenge you. I mean, come on, let's have intellectual discourse. So if you observe, we have a high level of illiteracy in that region of the country. And that is affecting a whole lot of things about them. And they are so gifted. They are so talented. But unfortunately, they die with the talent.
It's unbelievable. I know we have a very short time, and I really want to get this thing going, but thank you for your contribution. I just want to quickly say this before I allow both of you to talk about, the protest, good protest that started where, and then, unfortunately, like you rightly referenced, unbelievable that, a government, I call it irresponsible government, whoever gave the instruction, that led to killings of many people. But I just want to say this, those of you listening, and I want to say this as a pastor, and permit me to say this, devil rules through ignorance. Anytime, and ignorance in the scripture is also, synonymous with darkness. People that are ignorant will be in darkness. And when the first thing God created was let there be light. Where there is light, there's going to be life. Because Bible talk about in Jesus in John chapter 1 that talking about how life will bring light and life are connected. So I personally believe we want to bring it down to our human understanding, where people are educated, where people are informed and are given right guidelines and guidance in life, they thrive. And so it's very important for us to always think about as part of the solution to our country in the next 5-10 years, that we need to have that new revolution of education, and do it right, not just lip service. Do it in such a way that people are taking that platform to go to a new level. Anyway, I just want us to quickly talk about this protest the protest might have changed form or shape, but I believe the protest still continue in different ways. They have moved it away from the street now to, social media and many other avenues, which, it is, I think in my own view, a great thing, and why people are putting strategies together to be able to make their voice heard and make a demand of the government. But what do you want to say about the last thing that you just experienced? Yeah.
Okay, so I want to say that, first off, I want to, thank the Nigerian youth for standing up to the leadership in Nigeria at this time. And they rose up with a voice that reverberated across continents, that made the world to stop. Amanpour interviewed Fowles, and several other international, correspondents, on this issue. Now, what assisted that was the fact that they took responsibility they took hold of their future, and they used the resources, the tools that they had. The youths are, their playground, I always say it wherever I go, their playground is the social media. Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok and whatever, all of that. They began to write about the injustice, extrajudicial killings by the police and, the SARS and what have you. And this is a reflection of what, our founding fathers did. Nnamdi Azikiwe, when he was, in the Gold Coast, he was a journalist. He began to write, the African pilot. He wrote radical articles against the colonials. He wrote articles against, subversion of African people rising to be themselves. He wrote about, independence, because it was then the Indian independence had just taken, the movement had just taken. So they used the power of the pen. Awolowo used the power of the pen. Azikiwe used the power of the pen. Even Azikiwe, he had newspapers across the country, in the east, southeast, north, west, He had newspapers, and he started writing articles that woke the consciousness of the people. So we're seeing, flip 60 years on, social media is that power, is that tool, is that platform that the youths can, he mentioned, we have to be radical. We have to say these things. We have to mention them. When Azikiwe was talking about the independence for Nigeria, for Africans, he was jailed for sedition, and then he came to Nigeria, and then he started publishing again. He started doing all of that, and Obafemi Awolowo as well. Publications. Now these youths have realized the weapon that they have. And they want to hold the leaders accountable to what they are doing. Okay? And they have to begin to have a strategy. There must be a strategy. We have identified the power in the voice. Look at what happened with the Black Lives Matter. Okay? It was phenomenal. It was phenomenal in the sense that it brought world leaders to their knees to take a bow, to acknowledge systemic racism, and influenced policies. Now you're talking about diversity, you're talking about inclusion. These are governments that are responsible, that have been brought to, accountability to say, you did not do this right, this is it. And they are taking measures to address it. And I doff my hat for leaders that have taken the bull by the horns, and they have been accountable, they have been told this is not right. So for NSAS, this is 21st century. If your people, if the people that you're leading are telling you things are wrong, it is not the time to, engage them in military, confrontation to the extent of killing them. It took me to the time when Martin Luther King faced the U.S. government, at Selma, and I said, no, this cannot be happening. This is 2020. This is a decade. A new decade. So what we are seeing is a people knowing the power that they have. Now they know that the government democracy is for the people and by the people. And so the power is in our hands. So we're going to go back. The diaspora, we're coming back to that. But I'm saying now that the youth in Nigeria and in diaspora, this is your defining decade. This is your defining moment. If we miss this opportunity, then it is gone. Because we have been given the tools to move the world, to make sure that to say something in Lagos and it is heard in Casablanca. It is heard in Afghanistan. It is heard in Warsaw at the speed of light. So our founding fathers knew the tools they needed to use to make sure that we got the independence. They used the tools that was available to them, the newspapers, distribution, circulation, talking about, self-awareness, self-consciousness, Africanness, and all of that. And so they were able to use that. They leveraged on journalism. What these youths are doing is 21st century journalism, to use that to get our independence.
Amazing.
So what we are seeing is a generation of youth who understand the power that lies in their hands. So I'm challenging them that no government should bully them or let them cower to make them, retreat, because great leaders, people who have done things, have left a mark in this world where they never took no for an answer. Martin Luther King didn't take no for an answer. They went on. They wrote about it. They spoke in the church, and that's where you come in, Pastor. Yeah. They spoke on the pulpit. They spoke about it. They motivated the people. They moved the people. He wrote books. He wrote publications. And we're seeing that happening in Nigeria now. I am so proud to be a Nigerian, to know that the Nigerian youth have taken their stand. We were bullied in our own time. We were bullied. The 90s. There was no social media. The 90s, the coups and all of that. We kind of evolved. But these youths, they said no. And I want them to stay on the achievements, the things that they have achieved so far. They have done fantastically well. They are going into the book, into the annals of Nigeria as people who have stood against a government to the federal level. Federal, state, and local.
This is amazing, and I want to quickly mention this, and this is one of the reasons why on the influencers today we are talking about this. And I want to, as a church, as a person, and we have spent time to pray for people that have lost their loved ones, and people that, put their life at risk. Some people were injured, and we have prayed, and we also believe in God that we'll be able to partner with people that are trying to even cater for people that need resources to be able to, get themselves back. Unfortunately, a lot of things also have happened in the midst of this. Some hoodlums, that wanted to paint the good people in a bad way, because a lot of righteous people have suffered in a lot of losses because of the rampage that occurred. And we also pray for those people, because when a movement like this is happening, you are going to have the good, the bad, and the ugly. And so I'm so happy about what you said about what the Nigerian youth are doing. And also, we have been praying. Was it just on Wednesday I led people to pray? Why? Because we need to pray that God will give people courage, people boldness, because to confront especially leadership and government in Nigeria, that the judiciary system, the law is not being adhered to. You know what it means, unlike here where we live, where there's still a lot of decency and structure. So we've been praying for protection. We've been praying, for courage. We've been praying for divine strategy. We've been asking the Lord to just infuse His grace and His strength upon the people. But let me just give you an opportunity, Stanley. What do you want to say also about that protest? Then we will start talking about the diaspora. Yeah.
The NSAS movement, or the hashtag NSAS, that became one of the most trended hashtag globally, I think it's just a means to an end. Like Olu said, this is journalism made easy. You can no more hide. I want to also share the same thought, to extend my condolences to everyone that lost a loved one or was injured or had their businesses disrupted because of the protests. Let's not feel too bad that some hoodlums may have hijacked the protest. The good news is that we have made our point. It is no more going to be business as usual. The time has come for the true change. Not just the political change you talk about, the true change. The young people are aware. They believe the system has robbed them. The system owed them a lot. And they don't have anything to show for being part of the system. And they are speaking up. I also must commend some political leaders that genuinely listen to them. And through that process, many of them are setting up judicial panel of inquiry. Okay, but of course, we believe they can do much more than that. I'm sure with time they will do much more. So my encouragement to all the youth is that they should go back, re-strategize, and be the true watchdog for the government. Be the true watchdog. Enough of plain ignorance. Enough of allowing the political class divide you with religion and ethnicity. Oh yeah, they try to play it not quite long. Once they see that they are moving like a train and they cannot be stopped, they look for religion, they look for ethnicity, and they divide them. But thank God that the youth are getting more enlightened. It's not about religion, it's not about ethnicity, it's about a better future for us in Nigeria.
Amen.
And that is one of the problems that the corrupt political class uses to divide the followers. When it's time to share the national loot, they don't care about your region, about your religion, about your tribe. But when it's time to allow the masses benefit from what is their own due right in Nigeria, they start dividing them with ethnicity, religion, and that has to stop. That has to stop.
Wow. I mean, thank you for that, truth being shared with us. I'm enjoying myself, and I hope all of you at home, you're enjoying this as well. It's a blessing. Of course, this is being streamed live on all our platform, and of course, it's going to still be on our YouTube channel, which you can, listen to it again. But let's quickly talk about rebuilding Nigeria and the diaspora effect. You mentioned it very clearly from the biblical perspective about the Nehemiah, the Ezra, how the Lord, people have to come from the exile empowered, and they had favor with the people that they serve in exile to be able to go back and rebuild their country. Now, I want us to talk about what we can do, and we can always intertwine that with solutions. Because honestly, if you read the scripture, as a pastor, the book of Obadiah chapter 1, the last verse, of Obadiah, and also Nehemiah chapter 9, verse 27, talk about, and saviors, or liberators, or rescuers shall come from Zion. So that's why I personally believe that God is going to raise godly people, kingdom influencers, people that have what we call righteous indignation, that this evil cannot continue. We must do the right thing. And that is church at large. But I'm talking about those of us that are here, that God in so many ways, and like I've said, we have different people going to the parliament, going to the, to the Senate, depending on, which country one is, trying to advocate and to say, help us speak, don't let some people travel to come here, impose sanctions. But all of those are good. But I'm talking about we ourselves. What do you think in Nigeria that is also in Canada, in America, in Europe, and God has given them some leverage. They are established, in some form. They have connection in some form. What can we do to, in righteousness, to support this great movement? A lot of people are in Nigeria, they are speaking out, help us. They don't have resources, some of them don't have a connection. You are talking about internet now. You know how much it costs a lot of them to even be able to even browse? And so they are doing all they could. So let us just talk from that. Olu, tell us, what do you think? Those of us here and abroad in general, those who listen to us, what can we do? What part can we take?
I believe that everyone is positioned rightly where they are for a given, at a certain time and for a certain purpose. The diaspora, like you rightly said, be it, globally, I want to liken them to Nehemiah, like you said. And I want us to have that understanding of what it is to be in diaspora and what is our responsibility and what should we be thinking about, okay? Diaspora, in times past, they would talk about, it is wrong, what is happening in Nigeria, and it's all about just rhetoric. Now, when you look at what Nehemiah was a single person. He heard what happened. So I'm gonna just use him as representing the diaspora. And he went to meet the king Artaxerxes, okay? Before he went to meet the king, he had a strategy. He knew what he wanted to ask the king for. He knew what resources he needed to rebuild the walls. He knew what he needed to ask the king before he actually went. So there was a strategy in approaching the king. And he said, oh, your face looks very disdain, you know, what is it that troubles you? And he said, oh, it's this and that. Now, the diaspora, we must come together. And I believe the influencers is a platform where I believe is made for a time like this to begin the movement. Now, that is one, to build on that. Secondly, like you rightly said, we are in this beautiful societies and we have connections, network, you know, with the parliament, we have with the governors, we have with the mayor, we have with the premier. We should articulate what do we need, what support. Nehemiah listed, I need you to write me a letter to give me passage through all these regions I'm going to pass through. I need X, Y, Z. Now, what are the problems that we want to address in Nigeria? And what are those things that are here in the diaspora that we can leverage on? Education is one. Infrastructure, two. Energy. We're looking at several things that we want to begin to rebuild. Aviation. We have a country of 200 million people without a national carrier. That is a global and national disgrace. In 2020. So we are in the diaspora. We know people who are in aviation, you know, Airbus, for instance, in France, Bombardier in Canada, you know, Boeing in America. So these are aircraft, you know, I'm just giving you an example. They're aircraft manufacturers. They're the global leaders in aviation and aerospace. So the diaspora, we have relationships with them. For instance, you know, we know them. We understand. We have people who are, you know, black aerospace professionals in health, in education. We must begin to articulate exactly what we want. Because if you look at the time of Nehemiah, it was not the people in Jerusalem that preferred the solution. It was from outside. They got outside support of King Artaxerxes and his support, his resources. Same thing with Moses. Because the people were in bondage. And God sent him. And he was pulled out of there, but he was sent back. Okay? So we're seeing the fact that, yes, we're Nigerians, we are spiritual. We're being sent by the king. And who is that king? He's the King of Kings. He has sent us to Nigeria. And we are in the diaspora. We have people who are in kingly positions like Artaxerxes to say, oh king, my country is in distress. We need collaboration in energy. We need collaboration in aviation. That is a sector that before I die, I must see that we have, you know, our national care.
I know that's
we
a
need
passion.
intervention in agriculture. We need intervention in health. So we begin to galvanize, you know, this movement. So there must be a strategy. And I'm putting it back, you know, to you, you know, as, you know, championing this movement to say that, you know, we in the diaspora begin to look at a platform and we begin to stop it is not about talking. Talking has been on for years. Now is the time to leverage on the networks that we have with these governments, and they're listening. And we have been positioned at this time. This is our time.
Absolutely.
to leverage on
Yeah.
it.
Absolutely, Olu, you are so right. I mean, you gave the statistics, whether in America, in Canada, in Europe, and also some even neighboring African countries, how Nigerians are doing very well.
Yes.
You know how academically, in humanities, in every aspect, what has been an hindrance in Nigeria where they cannot thrive because they are in a system where if you have what it takes, you are welcome. And so you have seen them thriving and they have earned respect. And forget about all the Yahoo Yahoo boys. Forget about all the, because that's, people always want to think of the disadvantage and things that are not going right.
sorry
They don't
to-
talk about the positive
Yeah,
ones.
sorry to cut you short.
Yeah.
There would be the Sambalats and the
And
Tobias.
to Tobias. Yeah, absolutely.
They have their position,
Yes.
and that is to get us. So just to corroborate what you're saying.
Absolutely. And so I just want to say that thank God for good, great people, and you are all out there, and we thank God for what you're doing, and we believe that what I've started in Nigeria, is inspiring all of us here. And I believe God, as I'm playing my part, many other people are having the same conversation all over. And, the synergy, when we all come together, a little here, a little there, we make a lot of things happen. Talk to me.
Yeah.
What do you think, in the diaspora, what can we do? Thank you, Olu, for sharing that.
We
Yeah.
just began sharing the things that were in my mind.
Yeah.
And it's good that the spirit is one. You see, we are not here in the diaspora community by accident.
Yes.
And the deliverance we will likely get in Nigeria will come from the diaspora. A case in point is in the early 70s. There's a very big book on it, the 3I. India, Ireland, and Israel. They had a very huge diaspora community. And this community was so skilled that they began to build a bridge between their community in the diaspora and those back home. And they began to extend support and began to develop manpower and skill sets. That at the end of the day, the outsourcing industry boomed and was giving national revenue to these countries, even more than other sources of revenue. So when it comes to high tech in the 70s to 80s, you can't take away India, Ireland, and Israel, because the diaspora community have been able to teach them the global best practice, went back home, set up institutions, do exchange programs. Yes, some that can go will still go, but those that cannot go stayed back. And before you know it, the whole world were beginning to assert jobs to them. And the foreign exchange end was humongous. So it has played out in this country, and it can play out again in Nigeria. We have brilliant doctors all over the world. The school in Nigerian universities, they go out there, they get certified, and they become the best of best. Same in IT and in high tech. They should build the network they're already building, like she said, and get back home, connect with people back home, and begin to do knowledge transfer. Extend what they have. Yes, they do a little in Medicare, they do in IT, they do in creative industry, they all add up.
Let me quickly ask you, both of you, while we are, because we are getting closer to the end
To
of
the
this,
end of it,
and
yeah.
I just want to say to you viewers, you know what, we are going to have part 2 of this conversation, and I'm going to bring both of them back again. Why? Because I believe, we need to, get a very good conclusion of this matter. So this is just to get started, and I believe the 2 of them will come back again to help us have this conversation and just take it to a new level. And of course, a lot of other work will be done, off camera, which I believe quite a lot of other, great influencers. We want to be part of this conversation, which I believe, we strengthen whatever we are doing at home. But somebody may be listening. Also, a group of people said, I really want to do good. I really want to contribute. But you don't know where I'm going. You are talking about, okay, we should put ourselves together. Well, but are they willing to receive us? Do you want something to say to people that are wondering, that we have tried, or we have made the effort to connect with some people, but nothing ever comes through. Is there something you want to say? Of course, as a pastor, I would say, come on, we are praying for you. God is going to make a way. But I believe that should be part of the strategy as well. Like you rightly mentioned, Nehemiah has the key. Give me, support, because I know there will be intruders. I know there will be people along the way to execute my vision that want to put certain resistance to it. And so he had favor and backup, overcome intimidation. So, but I just want you to quickly, because somebody may be hearing and say, oh my goodness, I know I want to do good, we want to do good, even have some network here, but oh my goodness, there are so many adversaries, and we just give up. Is that something you want to say to people like that, maybe just to encourage? Yeah.
You don't have to be discouraged. We still have the remnant back home.
Yeah.
And they are not all bad. We have good stuff in Nigeria. You see, Nigerians are a group of people that are very optimistic. Nigerians are a group of people that are so resilient to a fault. In the midst of chaos, Nigerians will see opportunity. So those are the things you can leverage on. I'm sure those who are saying this, they came out of Nigeria. Look back home. You have relatives, you have friends, you have schoolmates. Profile them. I'm not asking you to go through me. Yes, I stay in Nigeria. Even Pastor Bayo can also help you. Right. Are you a doctor? Are you a lawyer? Are you a politician? Are you in the creative industry? Do you have so much skills in governance? I'm sure, talk to those back home. Well, I can help you. I can give you one or two contact if you need. I mean, Sister Lu can also do the same, even Pastor Bayo. So don't be discouraged. Yes, we still have some good breed and good brand back home.
I mean, so what you're saying is that we have some unique NGOs, unique systems, collaborators, and all of that, which can help in some ways. But I think that also underscore some things that you said, the fundamental issue of, and you also mentioned it, bad governance, structure needs to be changed. There must be a propitious atmosphere for certain things to happen. And that's why issues of Nigeria is not just one layer. It's many layers that to deal with. But this is amazing. But is there something you want to just say? And then I will just ask both of you for the final closing, word before we close today. Yeah.
I believe, yes, as much as I want to, agree with you. I want to look at it from a different perspective, yes. And the perspective of the diaspora and what needs to be done. And if you look at what Nehemiah did, he kept his strategy to himself. He knew he had a strategy, and he knew that there was going to be opposition, and the opposition came even to the very last moment when the walls were being, wall was being rebuilt. So there is going to be opposition, no doubt. People have encountered opposition. If we were to stay a whole day today to talk about the opposition that I face as a woman, as an entrepreneur, as a social entrepreneur, NGO, name it. But with all of that adversity, challenges, I have built resilience. I have become stronger. I have been positioned now. I have built networks across continents. Now is the time to use that gift for the development of my country, because I have a responsibility to leave a legacy. So what I'm saying is the diaspora need not be discouraged, because if you look at discouragement, people in America, the black community in America will not be where they are today without the resilience, the boldness, the sacrifice of Martin Luther King. He was assassinated, but 50 years down the line, produced the first black African-American president. So we are not going to be intimidated by any opposition in Nigeria, okay? The opposition is going to be there. It's given. It's given. So it is for the diaspora, like I said, the influencers and other people who can galvanize their platforms and resources, and we begin to have conversations. We must have a strategy, like Nehemiah. He had a strategy. He took time. It wasn't just a fluke. It wasn't a spur of the moment thing. Before he went to meet King Artaxerxes, he knew he had a blueprint. So we must have a blueprint. And another thing that we need to understand going forward, that I must say, is the fact that we must go back to the Constitution in Nigeria. We must break it down. Now, that was a fundamental point with Nehemiah and the Israelites. They went to the book of the law where they missed it. So until Nigerians are aware of the Constitution, the diaspora, what needs to be done, and what we're going to do with the connections we have in the diaspora to influence the change that is coming, it's not going to come. That thing is not going to come from inside Nigeria. I can tell you categorically, this is the time that the diaspora, forget about the times that it has been happening, nothing was happening. There is a reason that God is bringing this consciousness to us now. So, and just like Nehemiah, this is not the platform to talk about the strategy.
Absolutely. I love that. I love that. That is absolutely true. And that is great. Thank you, Oli, for sharing that. We strategy needs to be disclosed in closed door, and talk about how can we, like you said, gain knowledge, understand the issues. And that's how we started with what are the problems. And like you rightly said, look at where things are wrong fundamentally and then analyze them. And we have a lot of bright minds. And then it is even in that strategy that you will be able to identify people in Nigeria that you can collaborate with. Then you identify people here that you can talk to advocate, about your needs. And so that is amazing. And thank you. We don't have all the time. We now, at the dead end of our time right now. But I want to give both of you, an opportunity to just say the last thing. Stanley, what do you want to just say? This, I believe it has been a blessing to me as a pastor. Our friends and partners and church members have been so blessed. I'm friends all over the world, and they can still watch this again. But is there anything you want to say as we close this, at least initial section?
In closing, I'm very optimistic that a new Nigeria has been born, irrespective of whatever the corrupt political class might be thinking. Our job is to nurture this new Nigeria. It might still look fragile now, and what we are doing today is part of the nurturing. And I believe we will come out bigger, better, and stronger.
Thank you so much. Olu, what is your closing thoughts on this matter? Yeah.
I believe that I had always asked myself, why did I have to go through all of those experiences? Why did I have to suffer setbacks, challenges, adversity, unfulfilled dreams, in Nigeria, and even with that, the resilience and all of that. But I believe this is the time that I was born for such a time like this. Because you cannot understand the problem, how to fix the problem, if you have not experienced the problem, if you were not a product of that problem. So for me, I believe this is an opportunity to leave a legacy, to put back, to give back that which, that system, has built me to become, with the support of, the diaspora movement, to give back, to build a country that I had dreamed about, because my book, Dreams of a Patriot, will come alive, in the not too distant, future.
Wow, what a wonderful afternoon or maybe evening in Nigeria, like I've said earlier, maybe morning in another part of the world that we have heard on the influencers. And we believe that you have been so blessed. And thank you so much, Olu. Thank you so much, Stanley. But I just want to say to all of you listening to us, this is just the beginning. And I'm so happy that we are part of this conversation. Many people are having different kind of conversations about how Nigeria can be transformed. And we believe, we are encouraged. We have challenged ourselves here that we will not lose heart, we will not lose courage, we will not lose hope. Why? Because we believe God will turn things around. Not just because we are praying, but because we are going to put actions to our faith. And we believe God for transformation. But I just want to say this in closing. And I want you to please know Nehemiah chapter 9 verse 27, Obadiah chapter 1 verse also 21 talk about God will send liberators, rescuers, saviors, from Zion and send it to, in answer to prayers of the people. Bible says when people are oppressed, they are going through turmoil, they are going through, challenges, God sent to them saviors. And I believe God is doing that even in the diaspora, causing the heart of people to be positive, to do the right thing, to be encouraged again. Especially those that have even lost hope before, to do the right thing. And the Lord will help us in Jesus' name. So, until we come again on the Influencer, God bless you. Hope this has been a blessing to you and education. Use it to your advantage, and let's continue the movement. God bless you, and have a blessed weekend.